incentives or incentivizing our kids. Really, what we're talking about is getting behavior to actually work. And so you have a way, hopefully, you want your child to behave, and they don't behave that way. And you're working hard at getting them to behave that way. So that's kind of the game plan, right? And that is the issue. But what we run into with moms and dads all the time is really being stumped on how to incentivize our kids, right? So, in trying to figure out how to incentivize our kids, what we're doing is looking at a way to set up a motive, encouragement or discouragement, to get them to behave, to get to where it makes sense to them, and then they behave how we want them to. And commonly, you all will, or commonly folks we work with, will often not know exactly how to incentivize. Like, how do I come up with things that would motivate my kids? It's not just Skittles and timeout, is it? And the answer is no, it's not just Skittles and timeout. So what we're going to do is try to think this through. And of course, we're going to get to your questions, et cetera, shortly as well. This came up because after we got off the podcast last week, we had a situation. I'm going to let Jody talk about this. And the situation was a child basically at night getting in bed and getting out of bed and getting out of bed and getting out of bed. And so, how do you incentivize or train or help get in a routine where the child goes to bed and stays in bed? Ours always did. From 6 weeks on, they slept through the night. Nobody believes us. I can't help that. I offer all the time people have been to church, whatever they call Jody, she'll explain how. They never do. I don't know why. I think they just go, well, this is just how it is. That's an exception. But I assure you, your child can go to bed and stay in bed and get that down as a habit where you don't have to worry about incentives. It's just a routine. It's what they do. So Jody had this idea after we got off the phone. You can go with it.
Well, the person that had written in was talking about I think it was 3 kids. Oh, if I'm remembering, maybe like 7, 11, and 13. I could have that wrong. Anyway, not toddlers, but whatever. So I was just thinking about, okay, we were talking about rewards and punishment, different things. And I thought, okay, but they can get up, they can come out, and you will say, okay, if you come out, you're going to have to clean the toilet. That's what you're going to get to do. You can be awake, you can stay awake, but you will stay awake by cleaning the bathroom or something. I just thought, wow, that probably would motivate people not to come out of their room. I mean, you might have a kid that's
yeah. So now hang on. So yeah, so I said that was a great idea. So it's like at least you'll be productive. Come on. If you're not going to sleep, you could at least get up and, clean the baseboards or, I'm telling everybody hello, make the chat work. So
some not fun chore.
Yeah,
some fun.
Yeah. So as I thought about it over the week, I thought, some kids might like to work. They might like to clean stuff. They might like to do it. Jody's really good at that. She we'll clean the garage and get through. And she say, "Don't you feel wonderful?" And I go, "No, that's not a thing to me." So you could really motivate me, but someone else might be. I mean, Jody would go clean her brother's rooms in her teen years, I guess, or earlier.
Straight, not probably say it's
well,
clean, but yes,
for
straight in the mess.
Let me just say quickly, for how unstraight it was, you were cleaning. So if it doesn't motivate the child, that's a problem. So let's think about incentives for a minute, okay? So I have this process I go through in my mind about problems, and it's 6 S's. It's to seek and to see and to sort and to simplify, to solve, and then to simulate. Don't worry about all that, but it works like this. I come at it and I just try to look at the pieces. First, I want to figure out what do we want. And what we want is the child to do what we want them to do. That's it. Because they're children. I'm not talking about adults. I mean, teens are even a little trickier because they're kind of adults. I mean, teens isn't really a thing. It's a marketing thing. They were always just young men, young women, something like that, youth, that kind of thing. So when you think about it, here's what we've got. We've got a child, and we've got something we want, right, them to do. And inside that child, there's motives, and then there's an outside world. So there's the activity we want them to do. There's the outside world around them. There's the way they perceive things and their own motives, let's say. And there's some natural processes, like they tend to go to sleep. We wanted the kids in the bed. We didn't care if they slept, or we told them that we cared, but
We cared, but
we sort of didn't.
you can't make them
No,
fall
but
asleep.
if you're laying in bed, what
Usually.
else are you gonna do? So so those are kind of the ingredients. And then there's you. Okay, so there's you, there's the world around them, there's their nature, there's their desires, there's their perception of what's going on, there's the thing you want. And then you can know inside their nature, this is where we kind of move. So when I sorted, I got them, I got the world, I've got them, you, and the wants, their want, your want. That's kind of the story. So then I think through, well, how does it work? That's simplifying it. How does this thing go through time? And the way it goes through time is a child knows what you want, and if their behavior matches what you want, it's a payoff. They feel good either by relief or by joy, pleasure, accomplishing something. So you're going to feel they missed out on something bad, so that feels good by contrast, or they feel good that they did it. It's not about bad; it's about good. But either way, they're actually feeling better than they would have been if they hadn't done it. So that's the game, and both those things can be in play. And the way it works is you then can set up some kind of reward or consequence either way. And that's the thing, people can't think of consequences. So in doing that, all we have to do is figure out honestly what in the environment can we use that touches that child's interests and motivations. So if you were to reward me with licorice or cantaloupe or sweet potatoes as a child, like if you'd make I tell you what, Fred, if you'll do this thing, I'm going to make you a sweet potato licorice cantaloupe casserole. I mean, if you'd done it and said you're going to have to eat it, I'd have been motivated, but that didn't connect to me. So you want to make sure when you're looking at things, one of the pieces of how this process works is you're looking for things that are connected to them, that motivate them. There are probably some nuances, like if they're hard to do, etc., but it's going to have to connect to them. That's the nature of the game. And so what I like to do in solving a problem is I like to come up with what goal, if it happened, would solve this problem forever. I don't like to solve the problem directly. I like to figure out a goal, a thing we could reach to. And the goal generally, I would say what we figured out our goal was. Do you know what our goal was? And it's not to raise happy adults.
I know. I don't know what you're going to say. So I'm not gonna guess.
Yeah, and she'll agree as soon as I say it. We just hadn't talked about it. I think our goal was first time obedience.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our goal was first time obedience. So we were child training, not the child parent training. And so first time obedience means we didn't count. We didn't do that sort of thing. Well, I count to 10, count to 10, count to 20, count on, you don't want me to come over there, threat, conversation, all the rest. What we wanted to train the kids to do was just to do what we asked. That was it. And it's not like we were brutal or anything, but when I say step away from the street, step away from the rattlesnake, I need a child to do that kind of thing. So it wasn't negotiation parenting. It was, we're the parents, we're going to get you ready for life, and this is how we're doing it. But our goal was first time obedience. And the way we approached that goal, basically with the kids, was to set up incentives. Now, a lot of them are just in the system, you know. So when we thought about how do we get the kids up for homeschool without us getting them up there, 5 kids, and reminding them and having to tell them, get them out of bed, shake the bed, and put a piece of ice in it, and all the stuff we've talked about. So what we came up with is mostly everything in parenting or in homeschooling was not our job. How do we get out of work? I'm lazy. So using the power of lazy, what we did is we said, y'all can't start until this moment in time. And then when they start would determine when they'd finish. So our kids, they do about 5 hours of work. You know, they're done. We start at 7, they're through at 12, 12:30, let's say. You know, if there was exercise and that roughly, okay, lunchtime. So they would be incentivized to get through because then they had their afternoon, sometimes with activities, sometimes with play, other stuff. Maybe we might have occasional chore in the middle of it or something like that. But for the most part, they got their time. And if they didn't get started, they wouldn't actually get finished on time, right? Or they would get finished, but it'd be later. So they didn't want that. And what we said is you can't start until this moment in time. The moment in time was all the kids at the table. So all 5 of you, especially when they get older, all 5 of you, or however many are schooling formally, have to be at the kitchen or homeschool room table in our context at 7. And so they got each other up, and that went away. Now that's an incentive inside of like a peer pressure, I guess, you know, how in basic, all the new recruits bond together. But those things are all natural. That's how it goes, you know. So there's an incentive to get in the car if we're going on vacation. You usually don't have to push anything. So a lot of these things are happening all the time. The trick is when you have to use artificial ones and you look at how it works. And so if you want instant obedience, what you're doing is trying to train them every time. And what I would observe and also in thinking through the way it works is you want to kind of win in one area and then then you can use it in another area, another. If we bounce around too much, it's not good. So I'd make maybe only 3 things what you want obedience for. And it might not be going to bed yet. It might be something simpler. It might be coming to me, or it might be eating your food, or what are basic things that kids do. Go get something when we say go get it. Go get your shoes and come back. Don't stop and play with the dinosaurs on the way. So so when you do that, when you train them that way in maybe 3 areas and master it, it becomes a standard practice. It's a skill they have and an understanding they have. And when you bounce around between all kinds of things, they can't really learn it. So what you're trying to do is you're using artificial incentives to motivate them to learn to do first time obedience. Now, if you can avoid artificial, that's the way to go. Meaning if you can connect it to the thing so that, you know, I've shared before, Jody would, if 2 little kids were fighting over something, she'd take it and say, obviously y'all aren't old enough to play with this. And she'd put it up on a shelf or something. And so they were incentivized to want to play and want to play with the thing. And so they found out that fighting over the thing didn't work. Like both of you, it's all of you. I would do that with the older 3, especially. I'd say, I don't care. They're having a conflict. Y'all solve it, or I'll have some kind of consequence for all of you. I don't care. I'm not trying to put out lawyers. I'm not a judge. I don't want to be. I want to be peaceful. Y'all solve it. You're going to have to do this all your life anyway. So why not get busy? So that would be the thing. So if there's a natural consequence, that's great. But if you bring in an artificial one, that works too. So in potty training, you know, we would have a chart, Jody would, point of charts, stickers, Skittles or some candy, something like M&M.
We're hearing Skittles are not healthy for, I mean,
Yeah,
no
whatever.
candy is, but
Whatever.
whatever your choice is.
But we didn't do much sugar at all. We didn't do much candy at all.
So one little,
And so it was a big deal. And then in thinking through the incentives, we figured out with potty training, if the baby that's getting trained goes potty, everybody gets a M&M, you know. So then the whole motivation was there. So what I'm trying to say is what you're aiming for is figuring out something, usually artificial, that would be positive for the child, or something consequence-wise negative for the child, ideally in combination both, limited to about 3 items until you master it, because once you master it, you don't have to do it anymore. And so that's really the game. And all I would add is it's an experiment. Okay. So you try it. You fail, you learn. Light bulb, tried that, didn't work. Try that, didn't work. Try that, didn't work. Oh, something worked. So we can get there. So it's an experiment. And it also needs to be escalated. Start easy, you know, like an M&M, not a bag of M&Ms. We don't have to do that. And if an M&M doesn't jazz them, then it's not the right thing. So even as I was pondering this morning, I did a little, I Googled something and whatever phrase, and I found a little article by the Cleveland Clinic on bedtimes, and it talked about some interesting things, like you can have the sleep fairy. I wouldn't do this all the time, but you might have sleep fairy on, you know, Sunday nights, or that's, you know, starting the week, or sleep fairies on the weekend only, or a couple of, I don't know.
Or random.
You're random. And the sleep fairy would be, if you go to your room and sleep all night, maybe the sleep fairy will visit you and bring you something. And so they bring you, you know, whatever's a coin or thing. Wait, I mean, our tooth fairy was kind of wacky. He would put like a baggie with a whole bunch of random stuff in there. It wasn't just a dime or quarter or something.
Yeah, that sleep fairy idea they were saying, especially like we're saying, this is a training time. This is a thing you're going to do for 2 weeks or a month to get them trained, you know. But either put some little something under there, or tokens that add up to a prize. Oh, I got another token. You can, you know, use.
Yeah, and you could do this
chips,
clever.
yeah.
You could say, look, if you'll sleep through the night, if you'll stay in your room, we're going to make waffles. I'm making up something if that's a big deal, you know, or something like that for breakfast, something different. If that's not different, don't do that. So, and then if they sleep through the night, then you're in there getting them up, and you notice under their pillow, what is this? And you find it. It's a coin or something they care about. And you go, oh, the sleep fairy must have visited you. What's that? And you go, oh, it's kind of like the tooth fairy, but the sleep fairy came and said, just because you stayed in your room all night and slept, you get this little prize. And you could do that randomly, where they look some days and some days not, for a little bit. Another idea was to have stickers.
Sticker chart.
Yeah, for little kids.
They kind of add up, you know.
Yeah,
you get a week's worth of stickers.
If they sleep, they get to put a sticker up. When they get so many stickers in a row, you can give them an extra prize or something like that. But little kids like just to put stickers up. And when they see the chart and they didn't get to do the sticker, oh, bummer, no sticker. Maybe tomorrow night. So those were a couple of clever little things in there. I mean, I would have been tougher. I know me. I would have just said, look, you're going to go to sleep, and all we're going to do is figure out how much pain you have to go through to go to sleep. And I don't mean physical pain, but I mean, how much of a trauma do you want to make this? Because I would tell my kids, I said, I promise you, you may be more stubborn than I am, but I am way more practiced than you. You will not win this one. It will not happen. It's kind of like Liam Neeson and Taken or something, you know. I have a special set of skills, and I promise you, you will sleep. Now, that's me. So I'm not forcing or foisting that on anybody. We can be creative and all kinds of stuff. But that's what we do. That was the thing. And you don't get up to this time. And those clocks were another thing mentioned.
That change color when it's green. You get to come out
in
the morning.
Yeah, where they know they can get up.
Yeah. And another one was, I will come back and check on you in 15 minutes and give you the last goodnight kiss.
Yeah, or a second. They would say a second or last goodnight.
So then you do that, and then it said, you know, gradually lengthen that time, and you know they're probably going to be asleep by then.
Yeah.
But also it's just.
And you might start with 5 minutes, depending on the kid.
Sure.
So if you'll stay here 5 minutes, I'll come give you a second night's sleep. Yeah. Now, Jody's thinking bad. If you want to if you're going to come out, we're going to have to put you to work because it's sleep time or help the family time. And if you do that, give them two choices. You can either you can scrub the bathtub, or if that's a bad thing, or you can clean all the baseboards. It's your pick. I don't care. But they both need to be things they don't want. That sense of choice is like confusing, so they have some control, and then say, or you can just go back to bed.
And I
Your
could see
pick.
them trying it for a night or two. I
I
would
could.
not be stressed about that. Fine. I don't think a kid's going to keep that up thinking that's a fun thing. If it is, stop doing that and figure out something else.
Yeah, so Patrick threw out here consistent bedtime helps work it out. And I would say that's crucial. Consistent getting up time, consistent bedtime. And we stagger the bedtimes. You get older, you can step later, obviously.
Also, with that, the routine needs to be approximately the same each night, just getting their bodies and brains ready. The last hour of the night needs to be calm, quiet, not electronics, not TV.
Not grampy, getting the kids excited. Everybody gives me these lectures.
A calming down time, and then ending with you in their room with them for a few minutes at bedtime, whether it's a book or a prayer, or but it does. So that kind of needs to be the same every night, just something that they're doing like that.
Routine, wind down. Patrick threw out also said, we have them fold laundry. That seems secure too. So there's a good one. You want to get up and fold laundry? You want to go to bed? Yes, I like that one.
Oh, man.
So anyway, that's the idea. And then it applies to anything, but I would really narrow, as I said, I'd narrow it down to three things, or maybe one, and make that happen. We didn't talk much about negative consequences, but you kind of get the idea. You're just trying to look for this child. What's the behavior I want? What would reward them, that they would perceive as reward? What would discourage them that they'd see as a negative? And explain the game to them and master it. But I still think you're going to want your head first time obedience. That's what you want. You don't want eventual wear you down negotiation obedience. That's I would write a book. Negotiation obedience. Niet, it's a Russian thing. All right, so we're done with that unless you got something else.
I don't think
You
so.
wrote a lot of things
They
down.
had no, that was just that. They had, if they feel alone, have a picture of the family by the bed, and they can kiss the picture. I don't know. Obviously that didn't jazz me, but the light should be out, but so I don't know. But that was just the other thing. But clearly communicate your expectations, explain it, like we like to do, run that play, practice it show them this is what it's going to look like, and just do a little play act thing with them as you're teaching them at the littler ones.
No, that's a good idea. We'd do that. We'd run that play till we get it right. Learn this in football. And so even with that routine, look, here's how it's going to go. We're going to do a practice, go to bedtime. Okay. So we're going to start a little early. We're going to do a practice one. And here's how it goes. I come in and you read them something, and I say, good night, sweet dreams. And I'm going to come back in 5 minutes or 7 or 15, let's say, or whatever it is, and give you your second goodnight kiss, second tuck, whatever you call it. And let's see how it goes. And so, okay, I read to you. So night, night, and I won't do it as long, but we'll just do it for a minute. And you need to go out, and then you stay gone, and maybe just 3 minutes, or 2. Something before they come out, because that'll show them how it works. And then you come in, 15 minutes is up, pretend, good night kiss, sweet dreams. So that's how we're going to do it. You got it? Okay. Well, run, brush your teeth, and then let's get ready for bed. And then you actually do it, So we found running that play, like practicing hanging your towel up, like throw it on the floor and then go out of the room. You have to come back, pick it up, put it up there. Then I'd throw it back on the floor. We'd do it a few times until they finally figured out, that's how you want it. Yeah. Folded that way, or on the rack. Yeah. All right. So what kind of questions or thoughts or insights or challenges or curiosities, anything that you would like to talk about today? What kind of homeschooling, parenting, relational, independent learner stuff? The 11 courses are on focus and memory and communication and problem solving and reading and writing and whatever else is in
Memory,
there.
did you say
Memory,
that?
obviously.
Okay.
I need to go back through it because I'm not recalling it. But yeah, there's obviously memory, there's goal setting,
Yeah.
time management. So there are a lot of things designed for kids, and my favorite personally is emotional mastery. So kids learn to run their own emotions. So all those subjects in our mind, those soft skills fit in to the whole story of education, not just how do we help them learn their math. Though that's muy bueno. Yeah. Muy importante. I know you said something.
Yeah, something like that.
So what kind of questions do you have? I mean, if you don't have any, we can cut it short. But if they relate to what we just talked about, that's groovy. If you've got something that's nagging you or you're wondering, you want to think about something, then go for it. Do you have any questions that you get regularly from people? Anything recently?
Not thinking of any. I was looking at the same topic about bedtime. I was looking at a thing that was telling you when to decide to change from a crib to a bed. Oh, God, that's interesting. One, when they start climbing out. I thought, well, that I think a lot of people, and they said,
And that can vary a lot. We've known climbers at
yeah,
4 or 5
well, definitely you
months,
have
and
to lower, yeah,
some that never would have thought to have climbed.
when the rail hits their chest. I thought that was interesting. But if it's before that, maturity level, can they follow simple instructions? Some things like that. I thought that was,
And we also, it seemed, I may be making this up, but it seems like when we got them out of a crib, we might also put it sort of on the floor. So if they rolled out or whatever, it wasn't a
well,
trauma.
yeah, well, actually what we had is a regular bed, but with a rail at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of people do this, just the mattress on the floor. Or that's actually got a name. I can't think what its name, but or a bump. You can actually get these bumper things that kind of like poo noodles that go under the bottom sheet and make a little bumper. It's there's different things like that. But one of the things I had kind of the mindset of, if they weren't climbing out, and our kids are smaller, they weren't too big, they're not climbing out, they didn't really need to be out of a crib until they were getting potty trained, because they didn't need to get up and go to the bathroom. So that was kind of one of my thoughts in my head, is that there's no rush to get out of a crib for that kind of,
Yeah, and as they were older in that crib, when that crib bed thing, I remember you got better about including some things to play with.
right. Well,
So if they woke up early,
sure,
they could occupy themselves.
sure.
I guess that's the
Yeah,
main
I
thing.
mean, when they're newborns, you're not supposed to have anything in there. That wasn't even the way it was when we had newborns, but I have learned that. And then, yeah, but when they're older, but still in a crib, you can have some little things and, stuffed animals and whatever in there that are safely.
But people can learn to hang out too. You can just be there.
True.
So let me show you how to come up with a question. Okay. So a question means there's a problem. Okay. And the problem you're trying to figure out, resolve, cure, solve, however you're going to say it. Well, here's what generates problems. There are no problems on the planet until somebody wants something. That's when it's a problem. And so if you can think about what you want, what do you want your kids to do and how they approach adults? What do you want your kids to do? How they get down to their schoolwork? What do you want your kids to do in how they're learning? What do you want your kids to do and how they interact with friends? The moment you think of what you want and you're not getting it, that births the nature, of the problem. So I'm sitting here going, I want you to ask me questions, right? And that generates a problem because we are not getting any questions. And so as I think about that, I haven't gone to the stage of what one thing would cure it forever. And it's probably I need to send everybody a list of questions and check the ones that are big deals to you and get you to add a few others you have. And then I can have a master list. So whether people are typing them here, they type them in the week.
Yeah,
That'd be fine.
It was early.
What I like though is a question or a challenge or problem that's live in the moment, like something you're really wrestling with. Like, so if I look at it or you looked at it and said, what do I want that's not happening in homeschool, parenting, all relationship, the family dynamics, etc. What do I want that's not happening? Because if you can think about that, something will pretty clearly start to pop up because problems are generated by what we want, you know. So, I mean, the election will come up, and I assume it'll be in our context, it'll either be the Democrat or the Republican. And if you want the Republican and the Democrat wins, that's kind of a problem. If you want the Democrat, that's kind of a problem. But if you want the Republican wins, no problem. Want the Democrat wins, no problem. So it's these wants that generate the game, and you'll see it in your kids too. It's they want something that creates a problem. All this stuff we're talking about, incentivizing and training, is teaching them ways to get things they want. First, to figure out if what they want's good or bad. So if you want a bad thing, that's not a good thing to get. And if you want a good thing, help them to come up with a strategy of how to get it. That would be the core of the game. So I'll give it a second or two, but if there are no questions, we can get on to life and other stuff we do. Oh, hallelujah. Lindsay says, what are your thoughts on copy work? I actually have some. Did you use this consistently? What age did you utilize copy work beyond the age of 10? So copy work. So copy work is when you're just getting them to copy something that's already written. So they're not having to do imaginative literature. They're not making up a story. They're not having to choose the words. They're copying, and it's doing two things. One, it's helping them practice the writing part, the tweezer dexterity stuff. And it's actually helping them pay attention to language and punctuation. So I think it's a very helpful part of the process transition. I'm not entirely sure it should ever totally be given up, quite frankly. And everybody does. But as I think about it and how
good literature,
Bible, yeah, anything like that, and just think about all the transcriptions of the Bible and how they would measure it, and they're writing the Hebrew Bible. They would check the page, count number of letters over, number of letters down. If it didn't match, they'd throw it away. So it's like learning to be careful. It almost makes you a careful listener, but you're listening by way of the copy work. So tell everybody what we did.
Well, I mean, obviously we had to teach them to actually physically write. So once we did that, and
we obviously means Jody.
They did copy work. They started copy work then. And like I said, it might be a passage from at the beginning, I think it would just be maybe I hadn't wrote things down for them to copy because you're still using that triple lined paper, that kind of thing. Then you transition.
So it's the same size.
Yes.
I got it.
Yes. So
perfect. So you want it to look, it's a little different because you're wanting it to look exactly like you wrote it.
Right. Which is kind of, and then you transition.
Which was easier on the kids because Jody is a self-confessed
I am a neat writer.
Yeah.
And you can buy that paper, you can order that paper, you can laminate that paper and use it over and over again. But so that, and then once they've done a good bit of that, transition into having a book or the Bible or their Awana verses or whatever it is like that, and they are to copy that onto their own paper. The expectations neatly and all that. And I'm trying to think of the age, and it kind of depends on your kid. A lot of kids, I think, especially if the older ones are writing creatively, the younger ones want to start doing that. Sometimes they're not quite as capable, but I say let them do some of that, even if you're still working on copy work, if somebody's just really into it. And one of the things transitionally that I did is because they had so many ideas in their little head, they would dictate to me and I would write down their stories. Or they would draw pictures and I would write down their stories, and then, maybe they copied that back.
So they were in the process of feeling like they were being creative, expressing themselves. I come home and read it at night.
We actually, as part of copy work, went back for handwriting practice a couple of times with a few kids, like, okay, or maybe, I can't remember, maybe we did it with everybody. Okay, this week or this 3 days, because we would do that with phonics ever so often also. We're going to all do some review here.
Yeah. Just to refine it.
Work on that. So we probably did not do copy work beyond 10, formally doing copy work. It was one of the questions here.
Yeah. So in our experience, we didn't. So really, when we first started doing the writing course and started teaching kids in the homes, we'd have like 10 kids and they'd come and have writing course practice. We'd teach them a principle, let them practice, we'd grade it a certain way. And so we did this in the home. And our standard was a bride or somebody that could write that was like 9 years old. That was kind of where we started. I think Christina was one of the first, and Benjamin, do you remember them? And they did great. So I can't say it can't be before then, but usually by third grade, 9, 10, isn't that right?
Yeah.
7, 8, 9. Yeah, I think you're in great shape on copy work, and some of it's going to vary with the child, I think. So if they're ready for it, but letting them drag it out. I mean, most of them eventually would get tired of it, I would think.
Yeah, that's why I said
it's not as
some point you
engaging.
can kind of mix it up, because what we saw is that the kids wanted to begin to express themselves
Right.
and to write.
I mean, the easiest thing to do would be if they write every day a little bit, so you have copy work every day, have a non-copy work day, and see how that goes. And so Fridays are you're starting to make up your own stories, or you're describing a bowl of pickles. I don't know, something, whatever the game is.
Right. Or writing a letter to grandma.
But we did use it consistently early.
Yes.
On.
Yes, we did.
Because that's all part of the practice, because you've got to learn to read books, you got to learn to write stories, you got to learn to make a plus sign and minus sign, I think, somewhere in there to do math. Excellent. Awesome question. What else? You have a what else?
I was just thinking about once they did start writing stories. I didn't keep a lot of their schoolwork, but I kept their stories. They each, in these big 3-ring binders, and they have enjoyed, different ones of them have enjoyed looking back.
Oh, coming home like at the holidays with their own kids and looking at their old writing.
Back at their old writing.
What did they say? I didn't know they did that.
And mostly the ones that like to write. I mean, one that likes to write children's books.
And he likes to review the old videos.
I don't know. Just looks through it and enjoys that.
See,
it's just
you certainly can see your progress.
That's what I was about to say too. You could see the progression of their work. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not seeing any other questions. I'll give it like 10 seconds. And I know there's a delay in the system, but and it's fine. It's not a big deal. I don't want to waste your time or mine. But if you find this helpful, we like to do it. Probably need to convert it into a podcast, as someone else mentioned to me, and probably figure out how to do that. So we're up on 45, 46 of these.
Really?
They're 46 hours of us jabbering, yammering about how to have the most awesome life that you could absolutely ever imagine. It's so amazing. Yeah. So.
We appreciate y'all. And be thinking during the week. Questions you want to ask, write them down, send them to us.